I thought I better go with horror.
Really?
Because I understand it more. I love comedy, but well, what if it's not funny? What if comedy is not funny? When I work on a story or a script, I believe in instinct, in vision, in inspiration. With horror, at least you can make it gross and sexy, and there's an audience.
We can start with your rich biographical information. Slovenian by heritage, born in Philippines, raised in South America, then went to North America, now living in Jakarta. How come that you have that numeric nature? Are you a son of the army officer?
No, my father did work for he was an engineer, a bridge engineer for the Bureau of Public Roads of the U.S. government. So after the Second World War, he traveled to different parts of the world constructing bridges, including Alaska, Panama, Nicaragua, Philippines, Laos, Cambodia, places like that.
Traveled a lot.
Yeah, he traveled a lot building bridges.
And
so he took his family.
You came in the States in the 60s, right?
Yeah, I went to high school in the U.S. We moved to Atlanta, Georgia.
Were you influenced by the current culture, the racing, you know?
Oh yeah,
culture?
I was a hippie, and I melted my mind too many times, and I lived around the hippie commune type of culture.
Yeah, did that melting 70s. Mind experience influence the movie process?
I don't know. I guess when you whatever you do has an influence on you, and I don't know if it to what degree it affected my aesthetic. Somewhat, I guess, but I really feel like my ideas in making movies are based on the movies I've seen, just like anyone else. And I guess any kind of personal psychedelic experiences maybe have more to do with your general outlook on life.
Yeah, I mean, when did you start to be in love in cinema and, you know?
Well, I liked movies like most people from the very beginning.
Yes.
But of course I lived in the third world. So I grew up in Nicaragua and Panama, and we didn't have television when I was a kid. So we would go to the movies once a week, and this was such a huge event for me. So once I started seeing movies, I loved them. But honestly, I never had the idea at all that you could make your living making movies.
When did that idea occur to you?
It's hard to say. It's I think it didn't begin until I in a kind of strange way, I ended up with a Bolex 16mm movie camera in the 70s. But I think the idea of being able to make a living making movies began when I saw a movie called Day for Night, the Truffaut movie, yes, which explained to you how they showed you the backstage of the movies. And I remember when I was still a hippie, I was traveling through Colombia with my girlfriend, and we were in Cartagena, and this must have been in the early 70s or something. And outside the city, we didn't have any money, you know, we were taking buses and hippies with backpacks and stuff. And we saw where they were shooting a movie outside the city. And because I'd seen that movie, Day for Night, I understood that was a movie, that they were shooting a movie there. I said, oh, they're making a movie. And then we went to a town called Santa Marta, which is right on the beach, and got a little pensione, a little room in a place. And we went out for dinner across the beach from the water. and we're eating, and then all of a sudden 2 beautiful brand new Jeeps pull up. Out jumps guys with sunglasses. It's evening, you know. Beautiful girls. They're all dressed real well. They're very animated. They look great. They get at a table. They're drinking wine. They're having a great time. And I'm going, these are the actors. These are the people from the movie. Yeah. And I remember sitting there very, very clearly and thinking, I'm on vacation. They're working. And they're having a better time than me. So maybe this is not a bad idea.
Yeah, maybe this is a nice joke.
Anyway, that was one of the moments that I remember about making movies. But I never really thought about it seriously until I ended up with a Bolex camera, and I had some money. I was a painter. I had an art supply store. I built houses. I was a carpenter. I had a little restaurant. I did all kinds of little work because as a hippie, we thought the revolution was coming and we'd never have to work. We thought somehow there was this future where we weren't going to have to work for a living. Yeah. I don't know where we got this idea, but
it's a good
somehow
idea.
We had this idea that you could just lay around and do nothing. But eventually you found out that the best hippies were the ones with the rich parents, and if yours weren't, then you had to actually work. And since you didn't prepare for anything, you had to start pounding nails and doing the really basics. And so that's what I did. But I made a little bit of money, and so I started using this camera. I had previously started getting into art and painting and taking photography. So now I was looking at it more like photography.
So did you make any short movies before society?
No. Well, when I was a kid on 8mm in junior high, in high school, always with special effects.
Always with special effects.
But because I loved horror and stuff. But when I started using that Bolex movie camera, mainly I was taking movies. I had lots of goats at that time. I had like 15 goats. You know, I lived out in the country.
You were a shepherd.
Not really. I just had a lot of goats because they would eat the grass and keep away the snakes. Oh. You know, this was in North Carolina. Anyway, I started shooting and I thought, wow, I really like this. This is so cool. I'm going to take this money I have. I want to make a movie. So I was going to make a short film. So I put an advertisement in the newspaper, in the free newspaper. And this young guy who had graduated from the film, radio, and television school at the university said, I'll help you. I'm on unemployment anyway, so you don't have to pay me. So we started making a movie. And I would write, and then we would shoot, and then we would edit, and then I would write, and then we would shoot. And that's how so over about a year's time, I made what was basically a 90-minute student film. Mm-hmm. And from here, once I started doing that, I started reading books on making movies. I started reading magazines of exhibition, looking into the business. And I realized that I really, really enjoyed this process. I really loved shooting and seeing what you got.
But
and then putting it on an editing machine.
Director. You were a producer.
Oh well, this was I started on that movie. I started producing, and I had a director, and then I finished directing it myself. But once I learned, because I didn't know anything, so I could only get people who knew what they were doing, and watch. So after that, the movie was so bad that I didn't think it was bad until I showed it to my friends. Then I realized it wasn't any good. I think we all love what we do at first. And so then I thought, I want to go to Hollywood because I couldn't make movies in North Carolina. Yeah. Nobody was interested. Nobody would dedicate themselves to it. It's lots of work.